Mark Sabatello with the Mastering MuseScore School here. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to get started creating your first score. When you start MuseScore, you'll see this empty score all ready for you to start playing with, and this is what we're going to use. The first thing I want to show you is how to move around it. If you have a mouse, you can use the mouse wheel to scroll up and down. In my case, it's not an actual mouse. I have a touchpad, and it's 2-finger swipe to scroll up and down, or with Shift to scroll sideways. You can also use the standard shortcuts like Home to go to the beginning. Now the score doesn't quite fit on my screen, so I want to zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to come to the zoom control on the toolbar and choose page width. That allows the whole score's width to fit on my screen. Now I'm ready to start entering some music. So the first thing I want to do is pick a key signature. So I'm going to come to the palettes window here on the left and open the key signatures palette by clicking the little arrow next to the word key signatures. In order to add a key signature, I'll first select a measure where I want to apply it. So I'll select the first measure and then click the key signature on the palette. That applies the key signature. Now I'm ready to start entering notes. To enter notes in MuseScore, we're going to use Note Input Mode, and we get there by clicking the N icon on the toolbar. And when I hover my mouse on it, the tooltip appears and tells you the keyboard shortcut is also N. So I can either click the icon or press the N key on my keyboard. When I do that, a rectangular cursor appears showing where the next note is going to be entered. And as I move my mouse, you'll see a shadow note telling you what note you're about to enter. To enter the note, we start by selecting the duration by clicking in the toolbar, and then I can click on the staff to enter my notes. I can enter a D, an E. If I click the F line, I actually get an F sharp because it is honoring the key signature, and so on. Now normally, I don't actually use the mouse to enter my notes. I use the keyboard. It's very efficient, and so I want to show you these shortcuts. Eighth note is 4. You can see when you hover over that. If I hover over the quarter note, it's 5. Half note is 6. So 4, 5, 6, just like the middle row of the numeric keypad for eighth, quarter, and half, which are the most common notes we're going to want to enter. So if I want to enter a quarter note, I can type 5, and then I can just type the letter name of the note. So if I type an E, I get an E. If I type an A, I get an A. If that's not the specific A I want, I can use Control down to drop it an octave. And that's the basics of note entry. I want to show you some of the other things that you might need to do. One is adding dotted notes. So if I want to add a dotted quarter note, I can make sure the quarter note is selected and then also select the dot or use the shortcut period. And now whatever note I enter will be a dotted quarter. When you enter a dotted quarter, the next thing you expect to enter is probably an eighth note. So when I select the eighth note, the dot clears itself. And now I can enter an eighth note. The next thing we see on the toolbar is the tie. In MuseScore, we're going to select the duration of the note we want to tie to. We've just entered a C sharp. When I create a tie, I know it's going to be to another C sharp because that's how ties work. So I select the duration of half note and then just click the tie button, and the shortcut is plus, and it automatically added the note and tied it. The next thing we see on the toolbar are rests. To enter rest, though, I'm going to show you how to do this without actually using the toolbar. If we want to enter, for instance, an eighth rest, I'll select the eighth duration, but then instead of clicking in the staff normally, I'm going to right-click, and that enters a rest. Left-click enters a note, right-click enters a rest. If you don't have two-button mouse, Control click is usually the same thing, or 2-finger tap on a touchpad. To enter a rest using the computer keyboard, just type 0. The next thing on the toolbar, and really the last aspect of note input that I want to show you, are the accidentals. And just like the duration, we're going to select them first. So if I want to enter a G sharp, I'll first select the sharp, and then when I come to the score, you'll see the shadow note is telling me, yes, you're going to enter a sharp. So when I click, I get a G sharp. You can also enter accidentals using the keyboard. If I type a B, I get a B, but then if I just press the down arrow, MuseScore will lower the pitch, and in doing so, it will add whatever accidental is necessary. So that's how you add accidentals. And it remembers the previous accidentals in the measure. So if I then enter an A and then another G, that G is actually a G sharp. So I'm going to finish out this measure. I'll enter an A, and then I want to maybe finish out the line. I'll enter a whole note. So 4, 5, 6 is eighth, quarter, and half. 7 is a whole note. And then I can type a D. Now you can make corrections while you're in note input mode. One thing you can do is just undo. So I can press the undo button or the shortcut Control Z to undo the last several actions. I can also redo them. I can also just move my cursor back and type a new note. If I decided I didn't want this A here, but I really wanted an eighth note C sharp, well then I can just press 4 for eighth and C sharp, and now I have a C sharp. I'm going to undo that because I liked my A. Most of the changes that we want to do, we are not going to do in note input mode. So I'm going to leave it by pressing Escape. Now I'm in normal mode, which is the mode we start in. And this is where we can do a lot more editing. The first thing I want to show you how to do is delete all these empty measures. I'm going to click one of them to select it, the first empty measure, scroll down and shift-click the last empty measure. Shift-click is how to select a range in MuseScore. Now that they're selected, Control-Delete deletes those measures. We can also insert measures. If I select that last measure with the D and go to Add, Measures, Insert one measure, that inserts a measure, and the shortcut for that is the Insert key. Now I could go and actually enter notes into that measure, but I want to show you how we can use some additional editing facilities. I'm going to copy and paste to fill that measure. So I'm just going to click an empty spot in the previous measure to select it, and now I can use Edit, Copy. Then click my empty measure, Edit, Paste. And the shortcuts for copy and paste are Control-C and Control-V, just as they are in most other programs. And that is how you can copy and paste. You can also cut and paste, and this is a way of moving music from one area to another. I'm just about done entering things into this score, but I do want to show you a couple more things in the palette. I'll select the first note of my score, open the Dynamics palette, and enter a dynamic marking, say mezzo forte. I'll reselect that first note, and now I'm going to open the tempo palette and click a tempo marking. The tempo marking I added says 80. If that's not what I want, I can double click the tempo marking and edit it to say what I want, 120. Then press Escape to leave edit mode. While I'm at it, I might as well fix the title to be something more meaningful and the composer. At this point, I feel like I have a piece of music. I'd like to hear it. So I'm going to click the first note of my score and press the space bar. That's worth saving. So let's go to the File menu and say Save. A dialog appears and you can choose a folder, enter a file name, and then click the Save button. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson and are now ready to get started creating your first score.